This lesson today is going to be on using Flash to make drop-down menus. And you see them quite a few applications on the websites. I just want to show you a couple of cool examples before we get into actually making our own sort of drop-down menu. And today we're in the folder called 5-menus, and we'll start off with kind of a cool example of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go through how this is made. I just want to show you some examples quickly first of what I mean by these drop-down menus. So you might have a site like this, and when you hover over it, those are your choices, and when you go over them, they sort of change a little bit to say that you're on them. Now these don't actually do anything, but that's what I mean, and then when you go away, they go away. Kind of a cool effect. Here's another example. All right, so that was in flyout menus, if you're wondering. The next one we're going to do is in book demo, and it's in menu final, and here it is. Okay, and this one again doesn't do anything. I just want to show you the effect as you go over it. Okay, as you go over it. Now this one has some sub-menus, and that's the kind of example we're going to do together in a few minutes, and this is going to be something like you're going to get on your test. And here's another sub-menu. Same with that one. I think this one doesn't have a sub-menu. Okay, so it's this type of thing, these drop-down menus or slide-over menus, whatever you want to call them. Kind of a cool effect. This last example is one that we've been building on for the last couple of lessons, and it's in the one called drop-down menu, and it's this one right here. And you've seen this one already. We've been doing this, okay, with the load movie commands, and then the last lesson we did drop-down menu. Okay, and here is the new stuff right over here now. What I want to do today is something like this. And when you press it, it actually does something. Okay, this one here has sub-menu. This one also has a sub-menu. This one goes across instead of, as you saw, this one down. Okay, kind of cool. This one also has a sub-menu, and this one's just regular. Okay, and what's going to happen on your test is that you're going to make a menu like this. Some will just be standard like this, there isn't a sub-menu, and some will have a menu like this. And when you press them, you'll have to display some sort of picture or animation, and you'll also put in some text there at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to now do a simple one together just to get you through the mechanics of what you would do. Okay, and there's no major secrets. Only thing is that these are obviously buttons, but they're buttons inside a movie clip. So where's all the dirty stuff happening? Because I don't see too much here. It's in the movie clip. All right, so this is going to be a standard technique we're going to use. We're going to make 3 layers, one for some actions, one layer just for labels to name stuff, and then these are the buttons. And you'll notice that at certain moments, when I'm over certain spots, like right now, watch, I'm over the seasons menu, that's where these appear. So they only appear at certain spots. Okay, so let's first of all have a blank screen. We're going to start fresh. Okay, and what we're going to do is a simple example that has 3 choices, and then one of them will have a sub-menu just to give you the idea, and I'll show you a little bit how you could program it also. Now, before we actually put anything on the screen, what I also want to do is I want to make sure I save this in this folder, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some stuff that's in here. I'm going to grab, I think there's a picture of the school in there, and one of the animations so that we can use those as demos. So as you do this demo, make sure you put it in that folder so that it matches what we're going to do. And I'm just going to call this drop, let's go drop menu. I don't think I have anything else called that. Okay, and I'm going to press save. Now we haven't actually done anything, but we're ready to put it in there. Okay, next, click on the text and make sure it's static, because if it's dynamic or input, it will wreck things. Okay, so it has to be static. And we'll draw something right around here. Doesn't matter how big the letters are, but let's keep them reasonable size. So the first thing is we're going to use, I don't know, just something easy, and I don't like that color. Let's pick something that stands out a bit more. Let's go with red. Choice 1. All right, and we'll try to quickly drag these down, and obviously we have to go inside of each one, change that to 2, change that to 3. Alright, so we've got 3 text boxes with 3 unique names. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to click on each one, and the next thing we have to do is convert those text to a button. So we'll click on Convert to Symbol, click on Movie Clip. Doesn't really matter what you call it, but just so that we have a rough idea what we're doing, I'm going to call that Choice 1 button. Okay. This one, same thing. Convert it to a button, call it Choice 2 button. And this one, same thing. Call it Choice 3 button. Okay. Now, we're going to go into the button world. Alright, so we'll start off with that one first and go into the button world. And we can add whatever effects we want here. We can have it change color. We're going to have a little circle show up to the left of it, which I think is kind of cool. You could have an arrow show up. So right here, I'm going to press F6 first. And I'm also going to go to F6 on the hit state. You'll see why in a sec. So let's go back to the over state. And I'm going to just draw a little circle here. I'm going to press in here, press a little circle. And I don't want it to be red. So let's go with blue. And I'm just going to draw a little tiny circle right there. Okay? So it'll just sort of be a signal that you're on top of this choice right now. Next thing I want to do is go back to this one. And this hit state, I don't know if you remember what basically happens. With words sometimes, if your mouse isn't right over one of the letters of the words, like if it goes right in the middle of the C, it's not going to activate the finger to say that you're on the mouse. So what you do in the hit state is you just draw like a blob of something. You don't even get to really see it when it goes back to the main screen, but just draw some sort of blob there. Okay, so that one's done. And just to see what it looks like so far, when you go over it, yep, it shows up with that little circle. So far so good. We're basically going to do the same thing to all the other ones. So we're going to go into the button world on choice number 2, press F6 and F6 there. Go back to the over state, and like we just did, we're going to draw a little circle again, and I think I'm still on blue. Yep, so stick with that. You could do whatever you want, obviously. Then I'll go to the hit state, draw my blob over the entire word, and we're good there. Okay, and we'll go on to the last one. Same thing, click on the button, F6 there, F6 there, go back to over, draw a little circle there. Okay, and then hit state, we'll draw the blob over the entire thing. Okay, so far so good. Let's just take a look at see what that actually looks like. Okay, so that's the first part basically done. Now these are buttons, separate little buttons. And what we're going to do now is grab the whole thing and make it one gigantic movie clip. Okay, so I'll call it menu, and we'll click OK. So now it's one gigantic movie clip. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky, because that part up to there isn't too bad. And now we're going to double click and enter the movie world. All right, and this is where you have to do things in a certain order and make sure that everything's there. So now we're going to work in the movie clip, and we're going to label this initial layer buttons, so we stay organized. So these are obviously our buttons. Okay, so that's labeled, and we're ready to go there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new label, or a new layer, sorry, and we're going to call it labels. All right, and we're going to make sure it's above the button layer. Just keep everything in order. Eventually, one more thing is going to be above this, called the action layer. Now we'll select the first frame in labels, and we'll give it a name and an obvious. Whoops, got to go up there a little bit. An obvious first name is begin. All right. Now you won't see it, okay, until we make more labels farther on, so we stretch things out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go. Let's see. We're going to have like 3 choices. So this isn't the first choice. So we're going to have to go 10, 20, and 30. So we're going to go to 10 first, and we're going to press F7, which makes a blank keyframe. And there's the word begin now. Okay. We're going to go to 20, press F7. 30, press F7. Now we'll go back to 10, and we'll give that the name 1 because that's going to be like choice number 1. We're going to go to this one, call it choice number 2, and you'll see the word show up. And then we'll go to this one, and we'll call it choice number 3. This one you won't see, so what I go to is about 40, and I press F5 just so it stretches out the frame. Okay, so there's your labels. Okay, they're going to come in handy later on so we know where we are as we're going across the playhead. Okay, now we're going to add another label, or another layer, sorry, and it's going to be called actions. So we're going to press the insert label. This one up here is called actions, and you got to have them in this order: actions, labels, buttons. It makes it nice and orderly, and it'll work out that way better. Okay, so that's our actions label, and we're going to add some keyframes, all right, with the F7 because they're going to be blank when we set them up, and we're going to put stops on all of them. So let's start off with this one. Okay, and I'm just going to basically go actions and type in the word actually stop. All right. Then I'm going to go here, F7, F7, and F7. So we're going to have some stops there. So we're going to put the code